Hello, Flosstube. You folks out there in Flosstube land. I'm Elizabeth Martinez, phantastitches, and this is a channel about cross stitch. Sorry about that. I'm kind of slurring words today. This is my Flosstube update number 77. And I'm here to talk about cross stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. It seems like I didn't stitch much this weekend, but I mean this past week, but I don't know. It seems like I didn't do a lot, but maybe I did. I don't know. Anyway, so I have finished a few new starts and a WIP to talk about today. So my finish is my second of the Blackwork Angels series. These are Prairie Schooler Blackwork Angels, and I think last time I pointed to the wrong one, but I did Joy already. That was the one I showed before, and I was working on this one here with the sheep. I don't know how clear that is. But this is the one I finished. So there's Joy that I did before, and this is the one with the sheep. There's a little sheep there that I had just started. I hadn't filled him in, and the angel's wings, and there's a big sheep in the bottom, and she's got her halo and this gold around her collar and the gold stripe, and her sleeves is a little bit on the cuff of her sleeves, of each sleeve. Now, I talked about this on my when I posted the finish. See all those lovely little stars around her? There's a couple of them in here. This up here. There's just two in this one. But in this one with the sheep, there are a whole bunch. There's 3 up at the top, and 3 on the side, on this side, and 2 more on this side. And I had done them all, and I was thinking about which one I was going to do next. And the one I wanted to do, I was thinking about doing, is this one. I don't know if you can tell, but she's playing the harp there. The angel's playing the harp, and she has a lot of gold the back of her dress and all that. And if you look at the stars there, they're all done in gold. And the stars here, gold. The stars around here, around the sheep, gold. So I was looking at the instructions for the thing, because the angel, because I remembered that it talked about doing the strings of the harp, or over here there's one where there's one of the angels that is playing, this one, where she's playing the mandolin, or lute or whatever. And it talks about doing the strings, in a long stitch rather than back stitching, And so anyway, I was reading the instructions, and I realized the stars are supposed to be done in gold. And I had done them in black, because of course on the chart, which is basically black and white, they're charted, they're black, because and I just hadn't thought about it at all. But and so when I posted this finish, I had thought about, I could go back and take the stars out and do them in gold. But I don't think I kind of like the look, the black look. I think they show up a little better. And maybe I could go and like somebody had just suggested, going in and just like highlighting them in gold. So I might, I have some, I have some DMC gold metallic thread, and I might just go in and put 1 or 2 stitches in there, or I might just leave them the way they are. I don't know. I kind of like them black that way. I don't know. I think they show up a little better. So I don't know. I haven't quite decided, but I'm kind of leaning toward leaving them in there, as leaving them black, and doing all of the angels with black stars. I don't know. I don't know. I'm indecisive that way, but that's what I'm leaning toward, I should say. Pup, don't do that, please. That's not for cats. So, my next new start. Yeah. My next new start I started this on last Saturday. And that's why I was thinking, what did I do all week? My new start was this little, it's a little kit from Hobby Lobby, the Hummingbird Bookmark, and it's not really that small. It's a little kit that comes with flosses and Monaco even weave, 28 count even weave. Stop, Puck. That's not for cats. But I'm going to show you the chart because, but the chart is very small. And the grid, the symbols are very tiny. And even with, normally I wear my glasses when I do things. But it's very hard to read. The symbols, it's not as impossible as one. I gave away a chart that I had that was so tiny. It was really pretty. It was a butterfly chart. It was really pretty, but the chart itself was so tiny, and that the backstitch lines over it were like just basically obliterated the symbols that were underneath it. So it was virtually impossible to use. Pocket. My cat is harassing me. Anyway, this one is not impossible to use, but it's very difficult. So, and scanning stuff onto the computer for some reason is like really hard for me. But to get the size right. So I had my sister. I'm gonna go around. But so I had my sister scan it and enlarge it, and so I have a larger copy to work off of. But so I started on this butterfly bookmark, and I didn't get much of Hummingbird bookmark. I didn't get much of it done, but I got some done. This is just the center, marking the center. But so I did the tail of one hummingbird, part of the tail of one hummingbird, and I did the border, and this branch here that one of the hummingbirds is sitting on. This is in this picture. Pocket, please don't do that. Don't. So I did part of the border and part of this branch and part of this tail here. This hummingbird. And so I started here, I think, on the bottom, this underneath there, and did the start of the branch, and I did all this side here, and did the branch going down here, and right in here, here, I put one extra stitch there, and of course it knocked all of this off, and I used this as a guide for this, and it started going up, and I had gone all the way up here when, then I went back and did this part, and came around the top over here, and realized it's not going to work. It's not going to match up the way it's supposed to. It's going to be in the wrong place. And so I had to go back and look like, what did I do wrong? And then I realized I put an extra stitch down here. I put 2 here instead of 1. of these single stitch here. So I had to take out not only this part, but this whole line. I had to redo it. So I would be further along, but I had to redo everything. So anyway, this is the progress I made on the Hummingbird bookmark. It's a little fussy, you know. That you have, you know, 2 stitches of this and 2 stitches of 2 or 3 stitches of that. But that's you know. So another thing I started was this Biscornu, this dragon Biscornu. And so there's lots of dragons, big dragons, and castles, and all that kind of stuff. And on the other side is just on the back is just a kind of a border of flowers, and you get a tiny glimpse of it right here. You know, leaves and flowers and stuff. So I haven't done the back of it yet, and I have just a little start on the dragon, and this one too. I left out a row, and so I had to like take all of this out and redo it. And this isn't part of the dragon. These little green things are, there's a little border of like a back has some backstitched vines and a couple of little tiny little petal-like things that go in here, but I just put them in there because there's a little bit done in the same color, and these were close enough to what I was stitching that I just went ahead and did them. But yeah, so that's one color. There's and it's only one of the 4 dragons that are on there, but this is like the largest amount of one color on here. And there's another shade of green for his other front paw, and I don't remember. Sorry. No, his other back paw, his other back leg down here, and he only has one front leg. Yeah, and his tummy is another, or it's like oranges and reds, I think, or something like that. Yeah. And so anyway, and then there's some back stitching around the dragon, and a darker color for his little claws or whatever, and another color for his tail, the top of his tail up here. But you get the idea. You can see the dragon there. And this is a needle minder I made. Just Joanne's had. I made them. I bought them a long time ago. Joanne's had. It was the 4th of July, not this summer, but a year ago, I think. I don't know. But they had a bunch of buttons, and I just snipped the pin off the back and made needle minders out of them. So then the other thing I did, just last night, in the wee hours of last night, was this. This is another Biscornu. And Sharon Metcalf sent me this little heart too. She sent me a bunch of needle minders, and so that's one of them. But anyway, this is a Gnome Biscornu, and if you look at it, it's very complicated. There's lots of lots of different colors, lots of different little tiny motifs thing, and there's the back. What's on the back there? But so I started with these little flowers right here, and I just did part of this one and the beginning of this one. I did this in the wee hours of last night, and I thought, okay, I can finish this. Yeah, no, I couldn't. But I'm planning on I'm doing, you know, these little pinky stars all the way around first, and to sort of give me a base to count off of, because because there's nothing in the middle, because this is, she left the, these are Tinymodernist designs, sorry. I meant to say that. These are Tinymodernist designs. That one and this one, they're by Tinymodernist. So anyway, there's, in the middle, there's a blank spot for a button. So all of these are, this is the center. So all of these, the center is blank on them. So that, you have to sort of count. And this is just white even weave from Hobby Lobby. So, you have to just count out from there. And so I want to put all 4 of the flowers in there to give me a base to count from. Oh, so there's that. And then my one WIP that I worked on is this Western Biscornu. And this is also a Tinymodernist design. And so this one has saguaro cactuses, and there's a little cow skull and a flower, and then the border around here. The cow skull has a few different colors on it. I haven't gotten to that yet. Right now, I've just done the borders, and I don't remember if I had done. If I had gone this, if I finished it this far last time, but yeah. So this border just goes around here, and then on this side is the back. So there's little flowers like this in the corners, and I think that's all there is on the back, as I recall. Sorry, that's my cat. Snug. So yeah, so I want to do more on that, but I just got tired of doing the backside. So, these little flowers, are also on this side, and the saguaro cactuses and all that. And, this needle minder was from, I can't think of her name. I probably wrote it down somewhere, but she was sitting, she and her mother were at Stitchinanigans, and she gave me that cardinal. Is there a cat walking through here? Anyway, so yeah, so I worked on this, finishing, a thread here, so to doing more of the border, and then I did that little saguaro flower. I think it's a cactus flower. I did that, and there's another color that goes in the middle here. But, so yeah, so I made a little bit of progress on this. So, even though I felt like I didn't, it didn't, like, feel like I did a lot of stitching, I did have, 3 new starts, and 1 finish, and 1 WIP, so it was kind of, I guess, I didn't do a whole ton of stitching, but, I did get some done. Christina Harris, your giveaway package should be arriving either today or, maybe Monday or Tuesday, very, very soon this week. The guy, when I sent it off, the guy said it wasn't guaranteed to get there by Saturday, but probably by Saturday. So you should get it today. And if not, then any day now. Excuse me, I've got something in my eye. But so yeah, so this week I was, it was a little, my younger sister and her daughter went to, Albuquerque, which is where I'm from. And, she went to take, my niece's violin to be worked on at Robertson's, violin shop, which is it's pretty well known, I think, amongst violinists. But there was a guy there, I want to say Chris, his name is Chris, I think, that made her violin. And so they take it up there to be worked on every now and then. So she stayed with my brother, who still lives there in Rio Rancho. And they went up to Santa Fe, and And so we were all very jealous of that, them getting to go to Albuquerque and Santa Fe to New Mexico, which is really lovely. But on the way back, well, Santa Fe was lovely. They said it was like 82 degrees. It was kind of rainy. It was wonderful. Oh, New Mexico. New Mexico, New Mexico. Anyway, on the way back, they went by the very large array. We went out there one time back in, back in January, years and years ago. It was January, gosh, I don't remember what year it was. It was a long, long time. It was in either, I don't know, maybe early 90s, late 80s, I don't know. I don't remember if I was in Little Rock already by then or not, but I think my little sister and her husband, I don't know if they had moved to Arizona yet or not. Because before the kids were born, so it was 20 something 25 years ago or some thereabouts. But anyway, so we drove down to the very large array. We were home. We were all there for Christmas, I guess, and New Year's, and we drove down there. We drove down to Bosque del Apache, which is a stopover for birds that are migrating, for the winter or whatever, or coming back from I don't know. Anyway, so if you go out to Bosque del Apache, you can see all kinds of cranes and snow geese and all kinds of birds that are they stop there because it's a watering, they get, it's a sort of a watering hole for them, and also it's protected open space, so they go there and they go to like the nearby farms and they feed and everything else. So anyway, if you go there at the butt crack of dawn, you can see the birds all taking off, like for doing their morning feed or whatever. It's really cool. So we had wanted to we thought, hey, it's great, let's go to Bosque del Apache. So we went, and then afterward, it's like south of Albuquerque, outside of Socorro. And so we went into Socorro to get breakfast after we had seen the birds and everything. And we thought, hey, let's see what else is out here. And so we were when we were driving back up to Socorro, they had billboards for the VLA, the Very Large Array, and so there was a map of New Mexico in the glove box of the van that we were borrowing, my parents' van that we were borrowing, and we were looking at the map, and the VLA was there near Socorro, on what's called the Plains of St. Augustine. It's basically just a big wide open space. In the Very Large Array, for those of you who might have seen the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, and also the movie, it's a movie with Ray Scheider called 2010. It's a sequel to 2001: A Space Odyssey. Well, this one 2010. I don't know if it's also called 2010: A Space Odyssey. Anyway, it's a continuation of that story. But anyway, they have a couple of scenes that take place with the VLA, with the Very Large Array. They're big radio telescopes pointed up at the sky, and they're supposed to be like, they're trying to, I don't know, search for communications from outer space. I don't know. But so if you go out to the VLA, you can see all the radio antennas out there on the plains. And when we went out, they were in a sort of a Y formation. because as we were driving out, we're driving and driving and driving and driving because it's out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden, boom, there's one behind the trees off to the right, and then boom, there's another one off, and there's a little road and a sort of a visitor center, and we were there in January, so it was pretty bleak. There's and there's nobody there. It's like an unmanned visitor center, and like there's a little film thing that you can watch that just repeats every now and then. So you go in and sit down, and there's a film and about the VLA and the making of it, and everything. So anyway, these radio telescopes are out there, and and they have one that's sort of, they're on these like on these train track thingies, and they can move them around and as they need to. But they have one that you can go to, and it's sort of bolted, and cemented in the ground and sort of fenced around, so you can't climb on it. But you can go and look at it, and it's part of the array. So we were looking at it and everything else, and looking around at some of the little displays and stuff. There's like a little walking display thing. But anyway, while we were out there, all of the dishes were pointed at a certain point, and so while we were out there, they moved, and were pointed a different direction, and we didn't even notice them moving, I guess, until we were like, "Hey, those are pointed over." Now they're pointed, It was very strange. But anyway, they went to the VLA. My sister and my niece, they went to the VLA, and that was at the beginning of this week. And then like Thursday night, I think it was, that I was up late stitching away, and the power went out. And my parents and my sister, everybody was asleep. And I went and looked out at the street and out in the backyard. And as far as I could tell, the whole neighborhood was dark. But I don't really know, because I don't know who has what lights on or whatever. But it looked like the whole neighborhood was dark. So I don't know if it was a transformer or something that blew or whatever. Because the power went out about 1:30 in the morning. And then, it tried to come on. It kind of, flashed on and flashed off again. And then a little while later, flashed on and flashed off again. And then came on, and for about maybe 10 minutes, and then went off again. And then finally, about 2:30, it came on again for sure. And I was like, because it was kind of like, well, do I tell anybody that the power went out? Do I not? Because it kind of started to get a little warm, because at least in my room, because the air conditioner, of course, stopped working, and and so then on Friday I realized I had to go through and I reset the clock on the microwave, and the there's a built-in microwave and a built-in oven, and so I reset the clocks on those, and I realized that the clock on the there's a clock on the thermostat that went off also, so I had to reset that one. It was kind of weird. You don't realize how much you depend on electricity until you don't have any. But so yeah, so the power came back on of its own accord. I never did hear, I didn't hear anything in the news about what happened. So. But it was, just something interesting that happened. And the other thing is that, I had talked about doing this medallion thing for my nephew with a donut. It's like a donut even is what it says on there. And I had I didn't bring the picture with me or anything like that, but I thought about doing that for him for Christmas. But I think what I'm going to do instead is do it on something different. Like maybe they make some little journals or something like that, or I might just do it, I don't know, differently somehow. I still want to use that pattern, the donut pattern, because I think it's pretty much, him. He's into, sweets a lot and stuff like that. So I think he would appreciate that. Um, but the big news for him, I want to do it for Christmas. Um, but the big news for him is that he's gonna go. He's gonna go down to Tucson to a special school. Um, he has a certain disability. He had brain surgery when he was about not quite two. He was about 2.5 months shy of his second birthday. But so you know, it's impacted his life in a lot of ways. He has a job. He was pretty much mainstreamed when he was in school, but school is a difficult thing for him. So it was hard for him when my niece went off to college. She's going back to her second year of college in Boston um, in a few weeks, in at the end of the month, the end of August. And so he's not really, he didn't, he's not really a scholar in terms of going to college and going to um and so it's been a struggle to, like, well, what kind of job would he have, and because you want him to make something special of his life, to do what he wants to do, whatever, and it's been hard to say, well, because he has a disability, he can't use his right hand, and so that limits certain kinds of things he can do for a living or whatever. And anyway, this school that their family become aware of is um, it's a different kind of thing. So it's like teaching kids how to live on their own. So he would have a shared apartment, and some other life skill things that he would learn through this program. So it's he's going off to that in I think the beginning of September, like not Labor Day, but the following week. So my niece is going off to college in Boston. Uh, that that at the end of August, the 31st or thereabouts, and then he's going down to Tucson the next weekend, which is great for him. But then my younger sister and her husband are going to be empty nesters. And it's I hadn't really thought about that in terms of parents, because my older sister has her son, and my younger sister had her kids, and they were always the kids in the family, and now they're young adults, and and uh you know so yeah, it's time for them to sort of find their way in the world, and go off, and yeah, so the empty nest syndrome is hitting my younger sister now. So it's great and scary at the same time. But anyway, so that's a whole lot of talking about stuff that's not cross stitch. But but anyway, so I do want to do something for my nephew for Christmas, because that's sort of further away than, because he's going away very soon in a few weeks. So I don't know if I can get anything done for him in time, cross stitch wise, in time for him for his going away in a few weeks. Today is the, what is it, the 10th or something? No, Friday was the 7th. Today's the 8th, I think. Let me check my phone real quick, my calendar. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Yeah, no, today's the 10th. Yeah, today's the 10th. So there. Yesterday was World Cross Stitch Day, the 9th. And like I said, so to celebrate World Cross Stitch Day, or International Cross Stitch Day, whatever, I spent the time unstitching that dragon. That was what I worked on uh, International Cross Stitch Day or World Cross Stitch Day, whatever it's called. Yeah, so I worked on that dragon. I had started him Thursday, when the night of the blackout, but I worked on him on the dragon on Friday. Anyway, but what I was saying was that today is the 10th, and he's leaving in 1, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't know if I have time to do anything cross stitch wise for him to take with him. I don't know, but we're certainly going to have a kind of a big sort of a party, because his birthday is also the 30th of August. So a birthday, going away, whatever party for the two of them. We're gonna have that. I think on the 30th or something. So yeah, it's gonna be both good and bad. The best of times, the worst of times. The best of times because both kids are getting to go off and hopefully keep going in their dreams and their aspirations, and the worst of times because we're gonna miss them being away from home. It's gonna be hard. Anyway, so like I said, I was rambling on about a bunch of stuff that's not necessarily related to cross stitch on this cross stitch channel. But anyway, so just a quick recap. I'm hoping that I'm gonna do another start on the Prairie Schooler. I have this spot marked over here where I'm gonna start the next one, and I'm probably gonna do that one with a harp. But then I hope to do a little bit more on that Gnome Biscornu, because I barely got started on it last night before I pooped out and fell asleep. But so I want to do a little bit more on that and get a foothold on it and get started. But so far I have those 10 Christmas projects. The only one I haven't started was the one I was going to do for my nephew, and I think I just had a what do you call it? An inspiration or whatever to do it, rather than the medallion that I was going to do, to find some other thing to do it on. I don't. He's not really a journal keeper, so I don't know that a diary. Like they have those little, you can buy like little journal things that have a perforation, a cross stitch perforation on them, and I don't know that he would use something like that. So I'm trying to think of something. He's kind of like into video games and stuff like that. So I might find some way to incorporate that idea. Maybe a different design. I don't know. Because I have, on the one hand, excuse me, I have his birthday, going away kind of thing coming up, and then Christmas. So and he's a guy, and it's kind of like cross stitch is, no matter what we say, cross stitch is kind of a a girly thing when it comes to to I hate to say that, because I have known guys, and there are guys in this Flosstube community, but they it's a different sort of mentality sometimes about like what appeals to men, what appeals to guys, as opposed to what appeals to girls. Most of the cross stitch patterns are sort of, I don't know. It seems like they're more appealing to women than to men. In general, I don't know. In general. As a matter of fact, I was just talking with a friend of mine, another bassoonist friend of mine, who I got to know him back. Gosh, it was probably the summer of 87, 88, something. Because I had just started cross stitching. Uh, well, I think my sister and I met him at uh, the Music Festival of Florida in Sarasota in '87. He was attending, and we were attending, and got to know him there. He's a very nice guy, and he and his wife and kids live in the Tampa area, and so we went. Naomi and I went to the festival in '87 and '88. And he was an attendee on 87, and then just visited in '88. He came by and to say hi and everything. And then I think it was in '89 that I was auditioning all over the country, and I had an audition in Jacksonville, Florida, which is on the Atlantic side of the peninsula, and he lives in Tampa on the Gulf side. But anyway, so I was staying in Cocoa. My older sister lived in Cocoa at the time, and I was staying at her apartment after the audition to try to save money to fly back the following Tuesday. And as it turned out, that week, I should say, my older sister and two of our friends from college were going down to Miami to go on a cruise, and I really couldn't afford to go. So I was staying at her apartment. So a couple of days that I was there, I stayed in Tampa at my friend Kevin's house. He, his wife, and some family friends, I guess, we went water skiing and stuff like that. Anyway, so while I was there, we were talking about cross stitch, and because I had just gotten into it that Christmas before in '88, so had just been doing it a few months, just been cross stitching a few months. And it turned out that he did a lot of cross stitching. He had a whole bunch of, I guess, all of the DMC threads that were available at that time, and he had some patterns and stuff like that. So I was asking him, do you still cross stitch? Because there are so few guys in the Flosstube community, I guess, compared to women. And so I was asking him if he still did that, because I knew that he had some what are called essential tremors, I guess, in his right hand, and he had surgery for that, and then now his left hand has started that, so he's going to have surgery for his other hand. But so I asked him if he was still cross stitching, and he said he hadn't been able to stitch for a couple of decades because of the tremors in his hand and vision issues and stuff like that. So it's kind of sad that to hear that. But anyway, like I said, it's it's sort of a the predominantly female thing apparently. So I mean, anecdotally, although there are guys who stitch but not that many, not nearly as many. Anyway, so cross stitching something for my nephew, is it's hard to find something that I think would appeal, and it seems like for guys, it seems like you would do something more practical or something. I don't know. But anyway, so that's something to think about. Anyway, so I blathered on for almost an hour, 45 minutes, something like that. So I'm gonna quit while but yeah. So I think, did I mention Christina Harris? You're gonna get your package soon. I think I did. I think I mentioned that already. Yeah. So I think that's it. So I'm gonna go back and do my Prairie Schoolers start and finish working on that Gnome Biscornu, and Beth Twist just came out with a design that she did, a Biscornu that she did, and I really like it. I don't know that I'll have time to do it uh, for this Christmas, but I was thinking it would really, my mom would really like that, I think. But it's not available yet. I think it's like in the next couple of days. I don't know. I think it's not going to be available to September, but I'm not sure. I just watched her Flosstube video the other day, yesterday, I think. Um, but anyway, yeah, it would, it's really nice. But so anyway, okay. The end is near. Don't worry. So I will see you next week, and hopefully I won't be blathering so much. Sorry. Um, until next time, then, I'll see you. Thanks. Bye.